Hey, g'day church. I trust you're really encouraged and inspired and I hope equipped out of this recent series that we've just done together. When we shaped this series, we did it around a single word, and I wonder if you can identify what that word might be. It's the word stand. You find this word stand four times in the midst of what Paul talks about. In fact, let me just read some of the early sentences where it sits and just listen to the way in which it punctuates Paul's teaching. He says this: "Put on the full armour of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of the dark world, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore put on the full armour of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything to stand, stand firm then." Now, why was this word stand so important to Paul? I mean, he could have chosen any number of other words. He could have talked about fights, moving ahead, pushing forwards. Why was this word, why did he single out and use this one particular word? Well, I think he did it because there was a reason in mind. He was trying to have us to focus upon our right and our proper response in the midst of a battle. This act of standing, it actually implies a defensive action. Think with me for a moment about the medieval world where often maybe a castle would come under attack. In those moments, the inhabitants of that castle, their best defensive action was not to suddenly rush out the front gates and to run headlong into the battle. It was to actually stand, to take a defensive position and defeat the enemy from that defensive position. Well, I think that's a great picture of what it looks like to live out the Christian life. Paul calls you, and he calls I as well too, to stand our ground and to defend what is already ours. Now, why would he do that? Well, he calls us to stand our ground because of what Jesus Christ has already done for us on that cross 2,000 years ago. In that period of time, Jesus conquered sin and death, and that victory was won right there in that particular moment. And so when Paul says and calls us to stand our ground, he's not asking us to push ahead and to fight for victory. The victory is already ours to have. And so church, wherever you might be watching or listening for, as you head out into the coming week and in the days ahead, I really hope that Paul's words about standing firm in the midst of a battle really ring true for you with whatever you might face. Whether you're facing some kind of spiritual battle right now, whether there's some attack that you're coming under, Paul's word to you is to stand your ground, to dig in, to take that position, knowing that you stand because of the victory that you already have in Jesus Christ. I hope that encourages you, I hope that equips you, I hope that it reminds you as you live out your life as a follower of Jesus in the coming days ahead. God bless you. Have a great week in Jesus.